welcome to Non-Perishable Goods. I have Danielle with me today. She's jumping in on a
What's
topic.
up?
Okay, I'm just really excited for this show, or just any opportunity where like people want to join the conversation, because I feel like with non-perishable goods, we're talking about a lot of heavy topics, and I know we can't be the only ones in this world who feel this way. And so, like I feel like the show was the masculine and feminine energy roles and identity. And you're pretty passionate about a lot of our shows, but I feel like this one really kind of like was poking at you in like so many different directions.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you're here and that you want to like jump in on this topic. And like your background, just from what I know of you, like it's super interesting. Like that I believe you're indigenous, or your family roots are indigenous, and that you're in touch with you're a healer, and you're in touch with energies and different forms of things that I'm not so familiar with, but I definitely respect and I'm like interested in. So like Reiki and all those different, massage therapists, like all that. Like you have a crazy background. So if you want to like touch on any of those things, you want to expound on any of those.
Um, I guess briefly, real briefly.
Like how did you
Thank
get into
you,
it?
first of all.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for having me here. Such a privilege and honor and a gift to be here and build with you and create a space where people can, take a look through our lens, and also us applying several different lenses,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so important to reflect that there's never just one perspective on something. There's so many different layers of perspective. There's so many nuances, especially on the topic of identity, and then masculine energy and feminine energy is so complex and
Yeah.
it's so interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
so I really appreciate the opportunity. But
Yeah,
real
no,
quick about my
I feel like we're about to get blessed right now, you guys. You don't even know what you're ready for. Like, okay, I'm sorry. I'll be quiet.
no, you good. Um, Real quick about my I was raised by a single mother who totally believed in me. And I would have to say when I was 4 years old was when I had my first like profound experience of feeling my connection to creator, and having my mom tell me about something that I picked up intuitively and told her. She told me that all my life. And so something that I should never have known, I was able to tell her about a friend of hers that had gone. He went off, and we didn't know where he was. And I told her, I said, Mom, he's up in the sky with the Tatanka. And we were like, I was 4. I still remember this. And he came back a few days later and was like, oh, yeah, I was on a vision quest. Yeah, I was riding the white buffalo. And Tatanka is buffalo. So, like, I grew up just with that, with the understanding that I am connected to creator, I'm connected to the earth. And so I feel like I've allowed myself to be a channel for my ancestors, for the earth, for the elements. And so that's how I approach the work that I do. I am very scientific and very nerdy when it comes to the body, but I'm also very sensitive to energies and um, that world of things. So
So
from
like,
from an indigenous side, but also go ahead.
no, go ahead. From an indigenous side.
Oh, go ahead. From an indigenous side, that was my roots, but then it has so many other parts to it, because there's so many different philosophies and spiritual worldviews that align together. And I have just been on a path of trying to learn as much as possible about all of these different philosophies, healing modalities, and really how we can be in alignment with whatever our connection is to the divine, however you want to word that, and
How,
to ourselves, and
how do you
merge
tap
those two.
how do you tap into, or how did you learn this? Just from like your family, or just like being out in the earth, on the earth and the land? Like, how did you study it, or?
All of the above. I have to say that experience, that, from 4 years old and my mom telling me this, that happened my whole life, and always telling other people that, it was like a little bit of pressure, it was like, so, yeah, I was just a natural interest. I remember at 8 years old being in, my mom used to take me into her massage therapy appointments because I was the youngest. And so she made me go sit in the corner so that she wouldn't have to get calls from me about my brother and sister picking on me, So it's like I had to sit there in the corner, and I just remember being like, I love this. Like, I could see the energy, and I love the ambiance of it all. And so that was at 8 years old. And then I want to say it was at 14 years old that I found a couple books on my mom's bookshelf. The first one was Joy Gardiner's Color and Crystal Healing, A Journey Through the Chakras. And I have to say that gave me the language for everything I had been feeling. I didn't know how to talk about what I was feeling before. And I was very angsty as a younger person because I had so much energy, and I would play basketball to channel it, or like do art, music, but it was more than that. I needed a language to be able to really identify what I was feeling. That book was foundational. That Carolyn Mace, Anatomy of the Spirit, where she compares several different traditions, which I think you would really enjoy personally, hearing a little bit about your faith through the podcast. So it was a combination of that original experience, always as a kid, being out in nature, feeling all the energy around me, always feeling like I had somebody watching me, but in a good way. And then picking up those books. Somebody gave me the Tao Te Ching as a 15-year-old, and I got super into it. It was ancient Chinese philosophy. And then I got into yoga, and it was like, I got all these tools handed me at the same time and just woke me up. Wow. And I have to say, the death of my brother also really like cracked me open too, because it was like I could still feel him. I could still feel his energy around me everywhere. And then I was like, wow, he just transitioned. He's just not in his body anymore. So all those things happening at such a young age, I'm a seeker. So I had to start, learning as much as possible about the world of those things.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like you're really tapped into the different energies, and like to you, like, how would you describe energy? Like, especially when it comes to male, men and women, like, do we all have feminine and masculine energy within us? Or is that like a good thing, a bad thing? Like, is it you know what I mean? Or is energy something that's not I don't know, not you can't make it feminine or masculine? Or is it, like, in your opinion?
From what I have learned, we all, and what I feel personally, we all have masculine and feminine. In yogic philosophy specifically, there's what's called Ida and Pingala. The Ida is the feminine energy, the Pingala is the masculine energy. And so they wrap around another central channel. So there's like, if anybody's ever heard of chakras or Kundalini, the base chakra is our Muladhara chakra. It's like our root grounding chakra. And at that chakra lives the Kundalini energy. So the idea is that your left side, which is controlled by your right brain, your creative emotional brain, is connected to the left side. Your left brain, your left brain is connected to your right side of the body. So that's your right side is the more masculine side of the body, and your left brain is that more logical, reasoning, reactive brain. So the Ida and the Pingala, they interweave with each other. And then there's the Sushumna, which is the main central channel where the Kundalini rises through. So it's like these masculine and feminine energies rise up. And so we can do things that balance our energies, like breath work, because it's going to balance the hemispheres of the brain, therefore balancing the left and right side of the body. Anything that's like cross body is going to be activating that. So yeah, so, and that's yogic philosophy. And the ancient Chinese philosophy, there's
the yin and the yang, right?
Exactly. So in indigenous cultures, there's Mother Earth, Father Sky, Grandmother Moon, Grandfather Sun. So lots of, even in languages, you know, you have your feminine and you have your masculine pronunciation. So, and all
like in
these different
Spanish,
types.
like A and like A is feminine, and so it's like feminine and masculine. It's here. Like there's definitely, it's all throughout our society, and I personally believe, like I feel like people, it's okay to have both. Because like my co-host, he's like, no, I'm all man, I'm all masculine. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people don't even understand like this whole topic. Like, because I think people get like the energies confused with like traditional roles and progressive society and you know your sexual identity. Like all those things are kind of getting, I think, convoluted. And but it's good to know that, I mean, you being a healer, working in that, you know, practicing this, like, you know, like we're all like this energy of everything. I don't know. I don't know how to
Everything
explain.
is spirit. Energy is spirit to me. That's how I look at energy. Like energy is another word for spirit. Within the realm of Reiki, like Rei is wisdom, Ki is energy. So with you,
Moving with, yeah.
Reiki is like just really being a channel of like energy, like the wisdom of universal energy. But as far as identity goes, I think people really mix up sex and gender. And so, you know, being a youngster, being out on my own at 16, I lived in this old farmhouse that was not insulated. It was like you had to build your fires in the winter and you had to cut your kindling, you had to bring in your wood and everything. And so for me, I felt super masculine, you know, I was like doing all this stuff, chopping my kindling, bringing all this wood in. And I'm also a very goal oriented person and pretty ambitious when it comes to like achieving what I feel like is my purpose and how I'm supposed to serve on this planet. And so I've always been like a go-getter in that way. And that's also been associated with masculine energy. And so
was your culture,
you know, as a youngster,
so was your culture where
go ahead.
so was your culture, um, like were there defined lines of like masculine and feminine roles? Like who taught you to make the fire? Like if your mom raised you, right?
Yeah, my mom raised me, but I was raised by mom, so she did everything herself too. And so, and we're also disconnected from our traditional Tlingit and Chimariko ways. And so, because my, I want to say my great grandfather was put into a boarding school at the age of 6. He was taken from Alaska from his parents and put into a boarding school in Pennsylvania at 6, and that like cracked everything in our cultural traditional ways. And so, you know, and then there comes the assimilation. So for me and my family, I always been the rebel, and I've always been the one that's like wants to seek the truth and can be a little offensive because I don't play that. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to stick to these traditional American roles. I'm not of that. That's not me. So as a young person, I did everything I possibly could to resist a lot of these like more average American ways of life. And I learned a lot in that process. And I learned where I had to actually accept it to be able to move forward in my life, and where I could, while still maintaining my integrity as a person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But so as far as roles go, a single mom, she did everything. And so I didn't have a male around to show me, you do, like the man does this and the woman does that. And so and because I moved out at 16, like my landlord taught me how to make a fire. You know, he's like, okay, you're going to rent this house from me. This is how you're going to stay warm, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And
Yeah.
so,
But I think that's you have brought up a good point in when you were texting me about the Industrial Revolution and how
yes.
that like totally changed the dynamic of the family. And I was looking into that and it blew my mind that, you know, in the beginning, before things got industrialized, it was everybody was in their own community. And it was like immediate family, extended family, like a village that raised the kids. And the father was very like involved in the home as well. And like the kids had to
Mm-hmm.
work, like kids had
Yep.
to work and like everybody was together. But then when society became more capitalist and more industrialized, like the men had to leave the home and work in the urban cities, and that kind of destroyed the family as far as everybody collectively being together. And I mean, and you know, in different areas, I'm sure it people who had maybe more wealth or whatever, it was a little different. But for the most part, like it was villages that were like bartering and, you know, using their skills to like survive. So
Yeah, it was like agrarian. It was agrarian
yeah,
society. So
yeah.
whatever economic situation, whatever economic theme is of the society, that is going to show you how the different roles are, like the division of labor between people. And so, you know, before agrarian, it was that hunter and gatherer. And many times the men couldn't get the kill. So it was the women who were providing with the herbs and the plants and the berries and everything. So women are providers. And this is something I always bump up against in my entire life is like I've been told that I don't understand the rules of nature because I'm not like this submissive woman who wants people to take care of me. And I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that's not me. And I've never been like that. And I have the desire to provide for my family. I feel good when I do that. I want to treat my family to things. I want to know I got my bills covered. You know, it makes me feel good. And so that's just me. And I've
Yeah,
always been that way. But biologically I am a woman, you know,
right.
like
Yeah.
I'm not a man
Mm-mm.
and I don't
By any
identify
means.
at,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So I
exactly.
feel like these roles, you know, it's these constructs, these social constructs, they're so limiting. I mean, man, it's like
Yeah, it's very
in
limiting.
some hunter gatherer societies, both men and women did the same exact roles. It's per each different society. And so, you know, it was so we have hunter and gatherer, which was the longest surviving society as far as time goes. Then we have the agrarian, and then we have the industrial revolution. And now we're in post-industrial. We're in an information revolution, technological revolution.
Convenience. Yeah.
Exactly. And things have changed. I mean, so roles they gotta change. And I feel like there's so much resistance, maybe from both sides, but I feel it a lot from the biological man side because they believe they need to perform this certain way. And then it's like it's a tricky subject.
Yeah.
It's a real tricky subject.
Yeah. It's the whole patriarch, like the whole idea of patriarchy. You know,
Yeah,
it's
there's that too.
like it's like we're in power. Like that's just how the whole like I mean, they don't want women in certain countries globally, it's still very patriarchal, you know, where men run everything, make all the decisions, and that's how they want it. And I feel like in America, they're losing that. And they don't want, and that's the whole like progressive thing from traditional um life is that, you know, they want like progression. We want civil liberties. We want women to be equal. You know, we don't want like they don't want children to be working at 13 or whatever. But you know, it's just it's really interesting. But we're people are having a problem with progress and with change.
Shifting the roles, you know, it's like I texted you, institutions lag behind society.
Mhm.
Institutions are created to maintain. And so this institution of these roles that came about in within the era of the Industrial Revolution, they don't serve us really anymore. Maybe they serve some people who want that type of lifestyle, but
It's
you know,
really
I
about
really think
money.
that if a woman could follow her passions, yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. And it's like it has to do with economics, but like if a woman could follow her passion and take care of her children, she would do that, you
And she
know?
does, and she
But there's
does. Because that's, I
and she
mean,
does, and that's what I do, you know? I mean, I
yeah,
have three
exactly.
kids,
Yeah.
and my family never thought I was gonna have kids because I've always been this way. I've always been like, I'm gonna do my own thing. I have a lot of goals I'm gonna do,
Mhm.
and I have a lot of things I need to achieve in this lifetime. And none of my family thought I was gonna have kids for
Mm,
real.
mm.
And I love being a mom. It's like one of my favorite aspects of
Wow.
life. And
Wow.
so, you know, it's like you can do both, and
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah, I can see you just do it. Like, I think anything that you attempt to do in this life, like you'll probably just really enjoy it, and because you just enjoy all aspects of life. And so like
thank
you're
you.
gonna live it out, and you're gonna roll with it, and you're gonna adapt, and you're gonna change. But I think so many people are putting themselves in a box and
I
like, oh,
do.
I
I
gotta
believe
be
that.
like this, I gotta be like this, I have to. And it's like, nah, you gotta reprogram yourself, you
And
know?
that's the thing where we're running up so many barriers with our men. I feel like, you know, like I want to normalize men being full capacity beings of both logical and emotional, and that's not a soft, that doesn't make you soft.
Right.
That makes you strong because you're
Yeah.
able to navigate your brain and your emotions and bring those together with emotional intelligence. And our men should be able to explore those parts of themselves without feeling ashamed.
Right.
And
Like vulnerability is okay. You can be vulnerable, but it's like, you want to, with anybody, you want to be vulnerable in the right spaces. But I don't know. I just think
yeah,
the world is too. I don't know. I think the earth will be redeemed and it'll get back into some kind of order or harmony. I like how you use that word. You use that a lot. Harmony. Oh,
harmony.
because things
It's
aren't in harmony.
homeostasis, you know, it's always changing. Homeostasis, you have to constantly change to create homeostasis. The body is always trying to maintain a sense of homeostasis, but it
Mm,
doesn't stay the same doing that. It changes, so we have to change as a society as a whole, and that's why these conversations are so important. And you know,
yeah.
to normalize these things, to create a space for people to explore these ideas
Yeah.
of
And
the
not
masculine and feminine not just being biological sex or gender, their
right.
energies.
Right, right. Like their attributes, what they're doing, what they're offering their partner, like all that. Like,
Yeah, the
and to
sun and the
me,
moon, you know?
yeah, yeah. Like I think you need both. Like my co-host, he was saying that, well, the yin and the yang is, the man, the woman and the man, and then when they come together, there's a balance. But I feel like we're whole beings within ourselves. Like we should be balanced in ourselves before we like try to go and complete like that. I just think that's kind of a false hope to feel that somebody else will complete you. I mean, they might compliment you, but you have to be whole in yourself, right?
You 100%. You got to be whole in yourself. And that's going to change too, because we're always evolving as people. Hopefully, we're always evolving as people. That is one of my beliefs. And I don't know that everybody shares that, but I hope because they do, because there's there's a vast potential with knowing that you are an evolving human being. Um,
Kaizen.
the th-
It's a Japanese term, Kaizen, Kaizen. It's like continual
mm,
self-improvement.
I love that. I love that so much. And about the yin and yang, if people really look at the yin and yang symbol within that white side, there is a little bit of the black. Within the black side, there's a little bit of the white. The masculine and feminine, they flow into each other. That is the balance. And so on that last episode, you know, when you were talking about, you're like, I feel like 80% masculine, maybe like 20% feminine. I could relate to that in a lot of ways throughout my life. I think being a mother really helped me slow down and like grounded me and got me really deep into that feminine energy. Because before I moved so fast. I was like always hustling, always worked as much as possible, just always doing projects, you know, always on the go. And that's really, really fast. Like that's like light, you know,
And that's
whereas like that's
society.
more masculine.
Yeah, and society,
You know?
yeah, society makes us masculine. Like everything is masculine. Everything, I feel like.
It is, and there is a reawakening of these feminine principles happening right now, and
Like bringing everything back into balance some way.
there's a beautiful term to explain it that well, but I'll just plant the seed. It's called rematriation, and there's this amazing podcast called All My Relations. It is hosted by a couple of Indigenous women, so all about the idea of rematriation, which is coming back to the feminine. And what that means is so complex and so nuanced. But it's like returning the sacred to the woman, returning the sacred to the land, and honoring feminine principles. And it's like, I was so happy to hear that there's this whole rematriation movement, and they have this whole organization called Rematriation to teach people about this. They got rematriation in the dictionary.
Wow.
And you got to check it out.
Yeah, no, seriously, like we need that. Like I feel like things are out of balance and we need that. We need
100%.
rematriation. And especially like during the pandemic, like when nobody was outside, like think how fast the earth like healed itself. I mean, the sky, like
Yes.
for people in LA are like the smog is gone. Like it happened in like a week, I swear. So I think when there's
That
more feminine energy or fit whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like it just we need it right now in our society. Whatever things are out of balance. There's not much harmony. If you stay in tune with what's happening in the world as a whole, you know, like I don't know, we need more feminine energy. What is that? Rematriation.
rematriation. Yeah. So instead of repatriation, you know, it's rematriation. I mean, repatriation is important too for certain cultures, but like rematriation is it's the mother, the woman is the primary or the first socializer. We need to honor women. We need to normalize taking care of our women too. So I'm not saying just for the men to normalize like allowing the man to be his full self, but also the women. We need to look out for the women in our society. We have so many demands on us, and like I totally related with what you were saying about society makes it so you can't be soft all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel that way too. Like I am hustling every single day, whether it's with my kids or my work or whatever else I'm trying to do. And it's like, I just feel like there's really no other option. I feel like that's what I have to do. And so, but I'm not sure what as far as society goes, help me or like me, but I just know that, you know, mothers have so many demands on them. And then working mothers, it's like, we have this whole other element. And then when you bring girls in that situation,
Yeah.
I was just saying, when you have a woman who's a mother and then a working mother, and then those traditional gender roles in that situation and putting that weight on her as well. There's my daughter.
Yeah. And it's like men and women, like women have to take on the role of working outside of the home and raising the kids. And it's like, okay, men will, okay, you have to work outside the homes, but we also need you to help in the home with the children as well. Or, you know, just help out why do women have to carry all of that burden?
Everything, the cooking, the cleaning, all of that. And it's like, even like I mentioned in
and
the
we're
text,
going to work just like you guys, you know?
that's what I'm saying. And it's like, even if you to agree not to have these roles, they're subconsciously in our brains and bodies. And that's going to be the hardest part is that subconscious like rewiring, because it is ingrained in people to have these roles, and it's not been that long. It's only been a couple hundred years that came about in. So it's like, whew, all right. We gotta
Yeah,
fast, rewire some stuff. But I
yeah.
know for me, like with my dude, we agreed we wouldn't have the gender roles, but then they happen anyway. It's just as a result of, and it's like
Friends and people's
just
opinions, families.
happening. It's
Yeah.
not even opinions. It just happens when you're in a space together and you're trying to do it, and it's like, it's really tricky. And so I have to then ask, can you do this or can you do that? And he'll do it. But it's like, I don't want to have to ask for anything. I don't like asking
Yeah.
people for things because I'm a strong
Mm,
woman. So I'm just going to do it
mm,
myself,
mm.
So,
Yeah. No. And we take control and we can handle it from beginning to end and it's like executed perfectly. So it's kind of hard to allow somebody else to come in and they may not do it exactly how you want it done or it's not as efficient. So we do have that power. We can get it done. And my one of my examples that I've had is in the, from the Bible, Proverbs 31. Is the proverbial woman. She's like, she was a hustler. She took care of the family. Like she was awesome, like in the community. Like she cooked things, she made things for this community. So it's like we can do all of these things. We can do it, but we just want a little help, just a little.
just a little.
So
Do we really have to ask for it? I guess so. So I guess we really need to advocate for ourselves, and that's something that, and also remember to pour into ourselves first. To take that time for whatever it is, our prayer, our meditation, our personal maintenance, exercise, self-care, whatever it is that makes you feel whole, so then you can go and pour into your family, your community, your work life and all of that. But it's just one of those topics. It's tricky because I think the idea of a man like your co-host, I really appreciated his perspective, because I think there are a lot of men out there that are like, I don't want to be associated with feminine qualities,
right.
and it's like, but it's not wrong. That's the whole thing. And looking at more philosophical, not looking at it like sex or biology or gender, just simply looking at it as like two pieces of a puzzle, like the light of the moon without the sun. You know what I mean? But then it you know what I mean? And so it's to complement within yourself. And I feel like the mental health levels of society would be so much more just clear if men allow themselves to experience empathy, active listening, allowing somebody else to be a decision maker, because I was, really tuned into what y'all were saying and thinking about what was associated with masculine and feminine. It was like, well, there's been situations where I wanted to try to step back. So one thing I did want to mention was like, when a woman is complete and whole in herself, feeling in the feminine, and just being more specific with decision making and then with nurturing, like those elements, there's certain times I've tried to step back from the decision making because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let him lead. I'll let him lead. And then it's like, man, I wish I just would have went with what my decision making was, because then it's like I should make the decisions about how I nurture my child. And this specifically had to do with breastfeeding and stuff. And so when I looked at the aftermath of it all, I was like, why bypass my own decision making where I'm going to continue to breastfeed my twins because my dude wanted them to be on a very specific schedule. And that meant that we had to do formula.
Mm,
And it was like, man, I just just remember feeling so bad about all that. I really wanted to give him the opportunity to make the decision about it. And then I tried to let it ride. And then it was like, that was, I wish I never would have done that, you know? And then it was like, I know what my babies need, and I'm the one producing this food for them. So I need to, like, my babies and I are completely in tune biologically, physiologically. I know exactly what to do. So why did I bypass this decision making and give it to him? Because I felt like I was trying to be a good woman, you know, and like
Sharing that.
share that decision making process. But that really was my lane. Like, and so, you know what I'm saying? But I was
Same.
trying to share the decision making. And so that's just one of many examples of a lifetime of experiences of trying to be like more submissive, whatever that means. And so, you know, and not to knock my dude, he's amazing. He's an amazing dad. It's just that that was my lane. And if I wasn't as concerned about trying to be a good woman to him, I would have been a better mother. And then I would have felt better about myself during that whole process. I know mothers can relate if they're listening to this, because when you're breastfeeding your child, it's really deep. It's like a really deep thing. And there's like a lot of guilt attached to it if you are not able to do it for however long or at all. And, you know, I got in my feelings for several months about all of that, when I could have just been like, I appreciate your perspective, but this is
I know
my
what's best
lane.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just tricky. It's just really tricky with the modern dynamic. And again, I am a working mother. So when it came to breastfeeding my kids, it was like I had to go to work, and that took me out of the home. You know what I mean? But then I still have all these expectations of what it means to like be a mother in the home.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. We just need a balance, just need to be flexible. And I think in individual relationships, you have to figure out what works for you all. Like that's another component to the whole like roles and feminine.
Absolutely.
You
This
know what I
refill.
mean? Like we our choices also come into play in how we do things. So it's a lot of factors to make this life work. And I think we definitely just have to be flexible.
Absolutely.
All of us. All of us.
I think that's really the key, is like within any kind of transition, within any liminal phase of being in between, the flexibility is really important. And I think communication is the most crucial. Communication. And so, you know, that's super important. But I appreciate that you two, you know, had the episode. I appreciate being here right now and getting to talk more about it, to hopefully shine some light on the fact that masculine and feminine does not just have to do with biological, you know, biological or gender related um, and I just hope that, you know, we can all be whole in ourselves, and then we can relate to each other as whole beings rather than a bunch of fragmented pieces trying to fill holes, because that's never going to work.
Yeah, it's not.
So
Yeah, like I heard recently, the only time you really should pour into other people is when your cup is overflowing, and then what's in the saucer of the cup, when there's that, you could pour that into people, but you really have to fill yourself up. And that just made so much sense to me at this point in my life, because I've helped so many people and poured into so many people, and I wasn't even whole. So yeah, you're spitting facts and feelings.
well,
So
I see you are the balance, you know. And so, you know, for people who want to feel like, oh, I want to lean more into my feminine, it's like, go slow, take time, connect to the earth, be around water. Water is feminine. Water is so strong. It can break through anything, but it's so
anything.
soft.
Yeah, it just chips away. It can just
So,
chip away. Yeah.
So that's feminine though. It's feminine. And so it's the feminine element. So, for people who want to get more in their masculine, meditate on the sun, connect with that solar activating energy that gives life to all things. You know, there's so many ways to look at it. So that's
Like,
just from a spiritual lens, but you can look at it spiritual, you can look at it philosophical, you can look at it socioeconomically, you can look at it gender. There's so many different ways of looking at feminine and masculine. And I think that's the point of this conversation, right? Is like
right,
to
exactly.
shine light on how many different aspects of feminine and masculine there are. And so nobody should feel limited to feeling like, I'm a woman, so I have to behave like this. I'm a man, so I have to behave like this. It's like we're all of that intertwined.
Right. Okay. Well, I have one little low vibrational question for you.
I
Now,
love it.
a man who is out here spreading his seed and impregnating all these different women because it's his manly, whatever, I don't know. Is that masculine or feminine in your opinion? Or is that just not?
I was laughing at that conversation with y'all. I was like, that is such an interesting way of looking at it. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I feel like that's maybe he's just flowing, you know, he's just flowing, he's out there, he's feeling. But then I feel like it's both, because it's like, yeah, he is flowing, he's just like doing his thing, he's feeling, but then he's taking the action and do that. So again, I feel like it's both. He's out there in his feelings, right? He's putting these seeds out, but then that's the flowy masculine or feminine part, but then he's taking the action to do that, which is the masculine. So there's feminine and masculine and everything. And so I guess that'd be my perspective, is that it's both. I don't think it's one or the other, because I think, like everything, is both.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as like goals go, I don't even know. That's an interesting question, thinking about roles and like the man being the provider. But if you're out there planting your seeds everywhere, spreading them, you're not really providing. You're just all out there exploring.
Yeah.
So
exactly. I mean, but if you have the money, I guess if you could provide for all your wives and all your babies, then hey, whatever. But I don't know.
It's not, I mean, be safe. If that's what you're gonna do, be safe, be thoughtful. Don't just be out there planting seeds, and that doesn't make you more of a man just because you can drop the seed. It's, are you showing up for those children?
Right. You protecting your woman and your family and all that. So interesting. Okay. Well, man, thank you for
We
being
can talk
here.
for days.
I know, and we will. And we're gonna get together in real life and all that stuff soon. But thank you for being here.
Yes.
I really enjoyed your perspective, your energy.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
So till next time.